Henrik, 30-something. Senior systems analyst at a mid-sized tech firm. It's a decent gig. The pay is good, the work is challenging, and I'm respected for being the guy who can untangle the knots nobody else can. My desk is the unofficial final boss of technical problems. When junior devs have stared at a bug for 6 hours and are about to sacrifice a goat to the server gods, they come to me. My team is solid. We have a good mix of people, and for years, competence was the only thing that mattered. Makey, another senior guy, is my closest work friend. He's cynical as hell, but sharp as a tack. We can solve most issues with a few minutes at a whiteboard. Then there's Eliza. She's smart, capable, and we've always had a great professional relationship. We've pulled the team out of the fire on more than one occasion together. And overseeing it all is Mr. Pearson, old school manager. He doesn't care about your feelings or your star sign. He cares about two things, deadlines and budget. As long as the work gets done on time and doesn't cost him a fortune, he leaves us alone. It's a system that just works. I remember this one time, maybe a few months before everything changed. We had a massive database desynchronization issue. Data was getting corrupted across 3 different servers. It was a complete nightmare. Mr. Pearson calls an emergency meeting. The room is thick with panic. He just stands there, arms crossed, with that look on his face that says, "I am deeply unimpressed with this failure." He lays out the problem and ends with, "I don't care how you do it, just fix it. Now." Silence. You could hear a pin drop. The junior guys look like they're about to cry. I take a breath, walk up to the whiteboard. I ask a couple of targeted questions, trying to isolate the initial point of failure. I turn to Makey. Makey, can you pull the server logs from around 300? Check for any anomalous write permissions. He nods, already typing on his laptop. Then I look at Eliza. Eliza, can you map out which client modules are accessing the corrupted tables? We need to know the blast radius. She's on it immediately, no questions asked. In about 5 minutes of rapid-fire questions and answers, we have a theory. I sketch out a rollback sequence and a patch on the whiteboard. It's not pretty, but it'll work. The tension in the room just evaporates. Mr. Pearson looks at the board, looks at me, and gives a single, sharp nod. Make it happen. That was our normal, a well-oiled machine built on mutual respect and skill. We didn't do team-building exercises. We built teams by solving problems together. Then came the email. A company-wide announcement introducing our new Chief People and Culture Officer. Her name was Emmy. The email was a masterpiece of corporate nonsense, full of phrases like paradigm shift, holistic empowerment, and cultivating brave spaces. Makey forwarded it to me with the subject line, "Brace for impact." He wasn't wrong. A week later, Emmy calls her first all-hands meeting for our department. She walks in with a smile that's just a little too wide, holding a tablet like a sacred text. She gives this big speech about her vision for the company's culture. It's all about how traditional workplaces have been inherently biased, and how her job is to deconstruct those ingrained power structures. I'm just sitting there, trying to translate this into plain English. It sounds like she thinks our office is some kind of post-apocalyptic fiefdom. Makey is next to me, meticulously drawing a flowchart on his notepad that seems to lead from HR speech to total company collapse. I glance over at Eliza. She seems genuinely interested, nodding along at certain points. A few of the other women on the team look hopeful too. Maybe I'm just being cynical, I think. Maybe this won't be so bad. Then Emmy gets to the point, her first major initiative. She pulls up a slide on the projector. It has a picture of a flower blooming with the words "Ideation Sanctuaries" in a soft, cursive font. She starts talking about brainstorming sessions. She says that research shows that in mixed-gender meetings, men tend to dominate the conversation, and their assertive communication style can inadvertently silence female voices. She claims that this creates an environment where brilliant ideas from women are lost, stifled by unconscious masculine bias. The air in the room is getting heavy. I can feel where this is going. Emmy clicks to the next slide. To foster a truly equitable environment and unlock the full potential of our female talent, she says, her voice filled with manufactured enthusiasm. All future problem-solving and brainstorming sessions will be women only. Stunned silence. Not even Makey has a sarcastic comment. He's just staring, jaw slightly agape. Someone in the back, a junior programmer, raises his hand. So, if there's a major technical issue, we're not allowed to be in the meeting to help solve it? Emmy gives him a patient, condescending smile. It's not about being allowed, she corrects him. It's about creating a space where women can collaborate without the pressure of performing for the male gaze or fighting to be heard over louder voices. She continues, the solutions they devise will then be delegated for implementation. It's about empowering them to lead the creative process from start to finish. The implication is clear. The women will have the ideas. The men will do the grunt work. I look at Mr. Pearson, expecting him to shut this down immediately. This is the most inefficient, idiotic plan I've ever heard. He just stands in the corner, looking bored. He catches my eye and gives a tiny shrug, as if to say, "Not my department." My stomach sinks. He's not going to intervene. As long as HR is happy and he doesn't get any official complaints, he's going to let this circus play out. The meeting ends, the room divides. The women, led by an enthusiastic Emmy, gather in a small, excited group. The men just kind of stand there, shell-shocked. Makey, myself, and a couple of the other senior guys head to the break room. Makey is pacing back and forth, furious. This is insane. We have to go to Pearson. We have to file a complaint. This is literal discrimination. I let him vent. He's right, of course. But I've been in the corporate world long enough to see the trap. And what do you think will happen if we do? I ask quietly. He stops pacing. They'll call us sexists, I continue. They'll say we have fragile egos, that we can't handle women taking the lead. Emmy will write a 100-page report on our resistance to inclusive change. We'll be the villains of the story. We can't win by fighting it. Makey slumps into a chair. So what do? Just take it? No, I say, a plan forming in my mind. We don't fight it. We embrace it. We follow the new rules. Perfectly. They all look at me, confused. It's called malicious compliance, I explain. From this moment on, we do exactly what is in our job description, nothing more. We complete our assigned tasks. We meet our deadlines. We are polite and professional at all times. I lean forward. But we offer nothing extra. No more helpful suggestions in the hallway. No more, hey, I saw you were struggling with that. Have you tried this? No more 5-minute whiteboard sessions that save someone 2 days of work. Our creativity, our problem solving, our experience, that's for us now. They want the women to solve the problems? Fine, let them. A slow grin spreads across Makey's face. He gets it. We make a pact. Right there in the break room, we will work to rule. The first week of the new regime is weird. The women have their first ideation sanctuary meeting in the big glass conference room. We can see them in there. They've got colored sticky notes, fancy pens, a platter of pastries. Emmy is facilitating, pointing at a whiteboard and smiling encouragingly. Meanwhile, the rest of us are at our desks, and it's quiet, eerily quiet. Normally, there's a low hum of collaboration, people asking quick questions, helping each other out. Now, there's just the clicking of keyboards. It feels like the soul of the office has been surgically removed. After 2 hours, the women emerge from their meeting. They don't look energized or triumphant. They look tired. Later that day, an email comes out, summarizing the results of their brainstorm. It's 3 pages of vague platitudes. We need to foster more cross-functional communication. We should think outside the box to enhance client satisfaction. Our core mission should align with our brand values. There is not a single concrete, actionable idea in the entire document. Makey forwards it to me with the comment, "I'm so empowered I can barely breathe." The next day, a small but annoying bug pops up in one of our legacy systems. It's the kind of thing that would normally take me or Makey about 10 minutes to diagnose and fix. It gets assigned to one of the junior female programmers. I see her struggling with it all morning. She keeps trying the same thing over and over, getting more and more frustrated. In the old days, I would have walked over, pointed out the one line of code she was missing, and that would have been that. But the pact is the pact. I keep my head down and focus on my own tasks. Around lunchtime, Eliza comes over to my desk. "Hey, Henrik," she says, trying to sound casual. "We're all a bit stuck on the legacy bug. Any chance you remember any weird quirks with the old database connection?" She's trying to get help without officially asking for it. I look up from my screen, give her a polite, neutral smile. Sorry, Eliza, I'm swamped with my own tickets right now, I say. Besides, that sounds like a great problem to take to your next brainstorming session. I'm sure you all will come up with an innovative solution. The friendly light in her eyes flickers and dies. She sees what I'm doing. She just says, "Right," and walks away. I feel a small pang of guilt. I like Eliza, but this was their choice, their system. The bug that would have taken 10 minutes ends up taking a day and a half to fix. Productivity is already starting to dip. This pattern repeats itself over the next few weeks. Small problems become big problems. Simple tasks become complicated ordeals. The women's brainstorming sessions become more frequent and more frantic. They spend hours in the conference room, but the results are always the same: vague, corporate-speak nonsense. The men, meanwhile, are models of efficiency. We clear our assigned tasks with surgical precision. Our individual productivity metrics have never been higher. The atmosphere in the office turns toxic, but not in the way Emmy imagined. It's not aggressive, it's cold. A quiet, chilly war is being fought with politeness and procedure. The easy camaraderie we once had is completely gone. Lunches are segregated, the casual chatter by the coffee machine has died. The women start to look stressed. They're working longer hours, trying to keep up, but they're falling behind. They were told they'd be empowered, but instead, they've just been isolated and given all the responsibility without the collective experience of the full team. Emmy seems oblivious to it all. She sends out cheerful emails praising the vibrant contributions from the female empowerment circles. She sees the long hours the women are working and frames it as passionate engagement. She's living in a fantasy world built on her own ideology. Mr. Pearson hasn't said a word. The overall project deadlines are still being met, mostly because the men are working so efficiently on their siloed tasks. But the cracks are beginning to show. The final nail in the coffin is a new project that gets greenlit. Let's call it Project Vanguard. It's the biggest, most important project our company has taken on in years, a massive software overhaul for our #1 client. The stakes are incredibly high. If we succeed, it means a huge new contract. If we fail, we could lose the client and face serious financial penalties. This project is a beast. It's complex, with dozens of interconnected parts. It requires deep knowledge of both our old and new systems. It requires a perfectly functioning, collaborative team. It requires every single bit of experience and expertise we have in the department. Mr. Pearson announces the project in a kickoff meeting. He makes it clear that failure is not an option. His reputation is on the line. As the meeting ends, Emmy stands up, beaming. "This is a wonderful opportunity," she declares. "The entire creative and architectural phase of Project Vanguard will be handled by our women's ideation group. It will be the ultimate showcase of what empowered female leadership can achieve." I look at Makey. His face is pale. I look at Eliza. Even she looks terrified. She knows they can't do this alone. I look at Mr. Pearson. He's looking at his phone, already mentally checked out. And I know with absolute certainty that this is going to be a complete and utter disaster. The first phase of Project Vanguard begins. The women are in the conference room almost permanently. Their meetings go on for days. The men are assigned the preliminary work, setting up servers, organizing documentation, and other tasks that are important but not central to the core design. We do our jobs, we do them well, and we wait. After 2 weeks, the architectural vision document is released. It's 100 pages of buzzwords, abstract diagrams that mean nothing, and goals that are technologically impossible. It reads like a marketing brochure, not a technical blueprint. It's full of aspirations but contains zero actual engineering solutions. Makey and I read it in my office. We don't even have the energy to laugh. It's worse than we imagined. "They're building a castle in the sky," Makey says, tossing the document on my desk. "There's nothing here to actually build." He's right. The foundation is missing. The entire plan is unworkable. But it's not our job to say so. Our job is to implement the delegated tasks. The first tasks are delegated, and they make no sense. They're asking us to build components that can't possibly interact with each other, based on their own design. A junior guy goes to Eliza to point out a fundamental contradiction in the specs. He comes back to his desk looking defeated. He says she told him that his job wasn't to question the vision, but to find a way to make it work. The pressure is getting to her. She's no longer the collaborative colleague we knew. She's become a stressed-out enforcer for Emmy's fantasy project. So, we do what we're told. We build the broken pieces, documenting every single step. We write code that we know will fail, but it meets the specifications we were given. We cover our tracks. Every email, every ticket, every report is meticulously filed. We are building a fortress of evidence for the inevitable post-mortem. A month into the project, the first major integration test is scheduled. This is the moment where all the separate components are supposed to come together for the first time. Everyone knows it's going to fail. The men know it because we built the faulty parts. The women know it because, deep down, they must realize their plan was based on hope, not reality. The test begins. And it's not just a failure. It's a spectacular 5-alarm fire. Nothing works. Systems crash. Databases refuse to connect. The entire thing collapses into a heap of error messages. Mr. Pearson is in the room to observe. His face goes from its usual neutral expression to a deep, dangerous red. He doesn't yell. He gets very, very quiet, which is much worse. He turns to Emmy, who has been watching with a look of growing horror. "Emmy," he says, his voice dangerously calm, "I was told your new system would unlock potential. All I see is a multi-million-dollar project that is currently on fire." Emmy starts to stammer. "This is just a temporary setback. It's part of the iterative process. The women just need more support and—" Mr. Pearson cuts her off. "No." He turns to the room. "Forget the new rules. Everyone, conference room, now. We are going to fix this." But before anyone can move, I raise my hand slightly. "Mr. Pearson," I say, my voice calm and steady. "With all due respect, my male colleagues and I have not been involved in the architectural phase of this project. We have no knowledge of the core design principles." Makey chimes in. "That's correct. We were only tasked with implementation of pre-approved specifications. It's a checkmate. We are politely stating that we can't fix a machine we didn't design, and we're explicitly forbidden from understanding. To even try would be irresponsible." Mr. Pearson stares at us. He understands exactly what's happening. He let this fire start, and now he can't order us to run into the burning building. The standoff hangs in the air. The project is dead in the water. The women who were supposed to be empowered look utterly defeated. Emmy looks like she's about to be sick, and we, the men, just sit there, silent, professional, waiting. The silence in that room was an actual physical thing. It felt heavy, like the air had been replaced with water. You could see the gears turning in Mr. Pearson's head. He was trapped. His project was a smoking crater. The client was probably already drafting a breach of contract notice, and the people he needed to fix it had just politely told him to get lost. He was the manager. He had allowed this to happen under his watch. His neck was on the line, and he knew it. Emmy seemed to finally grasp the gravity of the situation. Her corporate cheerleader facade crumbled, replaced by raw panic. She looked at me, then at Makey, with pleading eyes. Her expression screamed, "Why are you doing this? Just fix it." She didn't get it. She still thought this was about egos, not about the catastrophic failure of her entire philosophy. She started to speak, probably to accuse us of insubordination or something equally stupid. Mr. Pearson shot her a look so venomous it could have curdled milk. She snapped her mouth shut. He took a deep breath, his face still flushed. "Okay," he said, forcing the word out. "New plan. The women's ideation group is officially dissolved. Project Vanguard is now under the direct authority of the entire senior development team. Everyone is expected to contribute. It was a full retreat, a complete reversal of policy. But it wasn't enough. I didn't move. Makey didn't move. None of the other men moved. The damage was done. The project wasn't just off track. It was a train wreck. The architectural vision was so fundamentally flawed that you couldn't just patch it. You'd have to tear it down to the foundations and start over. And we weren't going to be the cleanup crew for their mess, only to be blamed when it still couldn't be delivered on time. Mr. Pearson's eyes started to twitch. "Did you hear me? I said everyone. That's an order." "We heard you, Mr. Pearson," I said calmly. "But the situation is more complex than that. The project is weeks behind schedule, and the current design is non-viable. A simple all-hands-on-deck approach won't fix the core problem." He was losing his patience. "Then what will?" A complete and total restructuring of the project leadership, I replied, choosing my words carefully, and a realistic timeline adjustment, which will require you to manage the client's expectations. This was it, the moment of truth. Emmy gasped, realizing I was coming for her job. This is blackmail. He's holding the project hostage to push his own agenda. I didn't even look at her. I kept my eyes on Mr. Pearson. He knew I was right. He was a results man, and the results of Emmy's experiment were an undeniable disaster. He stared at me for a long, hard 10 seconds. I met his gaze without flinching. My office, he finally grunted. Henrik, Makey, 5 minutes. He turned and stormed out of the room. The meeting disintegrated. Emmy stood frozen, looking utterly betrayed. Eliza wouldn't look at anyone, just staring at the floor, as if hoping it would swallow her whole. Makey and I walked back to our desks. Restructuring of the project leadership, he muttered, a hint of admiration in his voice. You've got balls of steel, my friend. It's not about that, I said. It's about making sure this never happens again. We either fix the system or we're doomed to repeat this. A little while later, Eliza appeared at my cubicle. She looked awful. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and she seemed to have aged 5 years in the past month. Henrik, she started, her voice barely a whisper. I need to say, I'm sorry. I leaned back in my chair. For what, specifically? For all of it, she said, looking down. I thought Emmy knew what she was doing. I thought maybe this would be a good thing, a chance for us to prove ourselves. I never thought it would turn into this. She took a shaky breath. We were in over our heads from day one. The vision document, it was just a collection of buzzwords we thought sounded good. We had no idea how to actually build it. Every time one of us raised a technical concern, Emmy would just talk about overcoming internalized patriarchal limitations, or some other nonsense. She convinced us that any doubt was just a lack of confidence. This was the confession, the moment of clarity. She finally said the part that mattered most. We were drowning, and we were told that asking you for a life raft was a sign of weakness. I'm so sorry. You tried to warn us, in your own way, and we didn't listen. I felt a bit of the ice around my heart melt. This wasn't the arrogant colleague from a few weeks ago. This was the old Eliza, the competent professional who was smart enough to admit when she was wrong. I appreciate you saying that, Eliza, I said, my tone softening. It took guts to come over here and admit that. So what happens now? She asked. Can this project even be saved? I don't know, I answered honestly. But Makey and I are about to go see Mr. Pearson. We'll see what he's willing to do to salvage it. She just nodded and walked away. Makey and I went to Mr. Pearson's office. He was sitting at his desk, staring at the ceiling. Shut the door, he said, without looking at us. We did. All right, he said, leaning forward and putting his hands on his desk. Talk. What do you want? It's not what we want. It's what the project needs, I started. First, Project Vanguard needs a single, undisputed technical lead with full authority to make architectural decisions. No more design by committee. No more HR oversight. Okay, who? He asked. Me, I said simply. Ann Makey is my second. We'll co-lead the technical recovery. He nodded. Done. What else? Second, I continued, Emmy is to have zero involvement with this project. She is not to attend meetings, she is not to have any input, and she is not to speak to any member of the technical team for any reason. Her influence has been catastrophic. Mr. Pearson actually smirked at that. A tiny, bitter little smirk. I think I can arrange that. What else? Third, we need to do a full, honest audit of the project. We need to assess what, if anything, is salvageable. Then we create a new, realistic project plan with a new timeline. You will have to take that new timeline to the client and get their sign-off. The original deadline is impossible. This was the hard part for him. It meant admitting failure to the higher-ups and to the client. And finally, I said, the team goes back to the way it was. Everyone is a contributor. Ideas are judged on merit, not on who they came from. Eliza is a good engineer. She was just put in an impossible position. We need her, and others like her, to be part of the solution, not segregated from it. Mr. Pearson was silent for a full minute, just looking at his hands. You drive a hard bargain, Henrik, he finally said. It's the only way this works, I replied. He let out a long sigh. Fine, you've got it, all of it. Now get out of my office and for the love of God, go fix my project. We walked out of his office with the keys to the kingdom. The first thing we did was call a meeting, the entire technical team. The atmosphere was tense. The women looked ashamed. The men looked vindicated. I stood up at the front of the room. All right, everyone, let's get a few things straight, I began. As of right now, the old way of doing things is back. There are no special groups. There are no ideation sanctuaries. There is only one team, us, and we have a mess to clean up. I made it clear. This isn't about blame. What happened, happened. We're not going to waste time on it. Our only focus is on salvaging Project Vanguard. Everyone in this room has a role to play. Your voice will be heard, and your ideas will be judged on one thing and one thing only, whether or not they work. I looked directly at Eliza. Eliza, you probably have the best understanding of the client's functional requirements. I need you to work with me and Meki to draft a list of absolute must-have features for a minimum viable product. The look of relief on her face was immense. She wasn't being punished. She was being utilized for her skills. She just nodded, already looking more like her old self. And so began the great triage. For the next 2 days, we lived in that conference room. We put their vision document up on the projector, and line by line, we dissected it. But we didn't do it to mock them. We did it as a technical exercise. Okay, this requirement here, I'd say, pointing to a section. The document says it wants a real-time analytics engine powered by AI. What's the actual business need behind that buzzword? Eliza would chime in. The client just wants a dashboard that shows user engagement, updated daily. Someone in marketing just thought AI sounded cool. And so it went. We translated the corporate jargon into actual achievable engineering tasks. We scrapped about 80% of the original design. It was intense. It was stressful. But it was also amazing. The energy was back. That collaborative hum, the spark of people solving problems together, it had returned. Meki was a machine at the whiteboard, sketching out new database schemas. Eliza was a force of nature, clarifying client needs. Even the junior guys, who had been silenced for weeks, were eagerly contributing ideas again. We were a team again. After 3 days of nonstop work, we had a new plan, a real one. It was ambitious, but it was possible. It would require a lot of overtime, but it was grounded in reality. The new timeline showed we were a full 3 months behind the original schedule. I took the plan to Mr. Pearson. He reviewed it, page by page. 3 months, he said grimly. It's the best we can do, I replied. The first month was completely wasted. I know, he sighed. The client is flying in for a meeting tomorrow morning. You're coming with me. You're going to explain this to them. The next morning, I was in the main boardroom with Mr. Pearson and 2 very unhappy-looking executives from the client company. I didn't make excuses. I didn't throw anyone under the bus by name. I just laid out the facts professionally. There was an internal restructuring of the project management methodology at the beginning of the project, I explained. The initial architectural phase was conducted under this new methodology. Unfortunately, the resulting design was not technically feasible. I then presented our new plan. I showed them the new architecture, the new timeline, and the new risk assessments. I answered every single one of their technical questions with brutal honesty. When I was done, there was a long silence. One of the executives looked at Mr. Pearson. So, to be clear, he said, you spent a month letting a non-technical methodology drive our multi-million-dollar project into the ground. Mr. Pearson looked like he had swallowed a lemon. There were procedural missteps. They have been corrected. Henrik is now in full control. The executive looked at me. And you're confident you can deliver on this new plan? I'm confident it's the only plan that has a chance of working, I said. They talked between themselves for a few minutes. Finally, they agreed. They were furious about the delay, but they were impressed with the new plan's thoroughness. They gave us the extension. As we walked out of the boardroom, Mr. Pearson looked at me. You handled that well. You could have buried me in there. Burying you wouldn't get the project finished, I said. The fallout for Emmy was swift and silent. The day after the client meeting, we saw her walking out of Mr. Pearson's office. She wasn't smiling. A little while later, an email went out from high-level HR announcing that Emmy had decided to pursue other opportunities. The classic corporate execution. We saw her one last time that afternoon. She was at her desk, packing her things into a cardboard box. One of the building's security guards was standing nearby, watching her. Standard procedure for a terminated employee. She didn't look at anyone. She just packed her motivational posters and her corporate jargon textbooks, and then the guard escorted her out of the building. It was a quiet, pathetic end to her reign of empowerment. A few weeks later, someone found her on a professional networking site. She'd updated her profile. She was now a diversity and inclusion consultant, advertising her services to other unsuspecting companies. The office slowly returned to normal, or a new normal. We hit our new deadlines for Project Vanguard. The team, the real team, worked beautifully. We pulled it off. The chilly atmosphere between the men and women thawed. The shared trauma of the project and the shared victory of fixing it seemed to heal the rift. Eliza became one of my most trusted collaborators. She had learned a hard lesson about the difference between genuine equality and ideological nonsense. One afternoon, months later, Makey and I were grabbing coffee. "You ever think about it?" he asked. "What she was trying to do?" "All the time," I said. "I think she honestly believed she was helping. She just had no clue about reality. She saw everything through a lens of power and oppression. And she couldn't see that sometimes. A group of people is just a group of people trying to get a job done." I took a sip of my coffee. "She thought the problem was men being too loud," I mused. She never considered that the problem might be her trying to silence the half of the team that knew how to build things. We finished our coffee in comfortable silence. The crisis was over. We had won, not by shouting or protesting, but by being competent, patient, and letting a monumentally stupid idea collapse under its own weight. And back at our desks, work was waiting. Just the way it should be.